Texas is full of lost history, from lost cemeteries to abandoned buildings, from the infamous to the obscure. My name is Bob Malden. I travel all over the state of Texas looking for hints of Texas' colorful past.
We're standing on sacred ground right here.
Our lost history. This is Expedition Texas, and we're going to find it. Today, we're in Grange, Texas, a town where history is literally on every corner. From historic buildings to legendary characters, the city has a lot to offer, and a thing or two they'd rather not talk about. More about that later. Our first stop in Grange is perched atop Monument Hill, the old Crysia Brewery, one of the state's first commercial breweries.
Heinrich Crysia was a German immigrant who came to Texas in late 1846. He was a stonemason by trade. Came to LaGrange probably around 1847, had a very successful career as a stonemason. He'd built an old county jail here in LaGrange and built a county courthouse. And around 1855, he started building a house up here. In the early 1860s, he built a brewery in the ravine down below his house. Changed his profession from a stonemason to a brewmaster about the time of the Civil War. He was one of the first commercial breweries in the state of Texas. By 1879, he was the third largest beer producer in the state.
Dennis, good morning. How's it going? Bob Malden.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So this is the Monument Hill and Crysia Brewery Museum.
That is correct. It's our visitor center and museum here. We have a little museum that's dedicated primarily to the Crysia Brewery and to the Crysia family.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get down and see the brewery here in a little bit, but first, the museum looks really interesting. Can you show us around?
I'll be glad to. Kind of start off here. This is a picture of the old Crysia Brewery. The brewery was built sometime in the early 1860s, and it was a large three-story structure, built primarily out of stone. The third floor was a wooden structure. After they closed the brewery down in 1884, the building started falling into ruins. And basically this whole third floor that you see right here in this large photograph is completely gone now.
Okay.
And so when we go down there, you won't see this. This little photograph is the shot of the brewery from the bottom side, where you can see all three floors of the brewery. Here in the Rest Museum, we also have information and display of the brewing process that Mr. Crysia used. He brewed a dark lager beer called Crysia's Bluff Beer. And basically just the general 9-step process for brewing beer. We also have some of the artifacts that were found down there at the brewery when our teams came in down to the brewery late 1970s, early 1980s, and some of the stuff that they excavated.
This is an old, what, is this part of the brewery too?
That's one of the original copper kettles that he used down there at the brewery. There was two main kettles. This was the larger kettle where he would actually do the brewing and produce the wort that was the base for the beer. Over here we have some stuff on the Crysia family and the Crysia house. Built the house that his family lived in, started in around 1855, and did some additions to the house. He and his wife had 6 kids. None of their kids ever married or had any children of their own, which is a mystery to us. The youngest daughter, Julia, lived in the house until she died in 1952. Again, it's really strange in the sense that they didn't marry or had children of their own, and we just don't know why. That is still there, fully intact and in great shape.
Wow, that's great. Well, the brewery is somewhere down the hill, and right now we're headed out. We're going to find it.
All right, let's go. This is the vaulted room.
Oh, wow.
Down the trail here, it's a little bit of a hike down to the brewery. This is the Crysia house. It was originally built around 1855. It was a 3-story structure. The original part of the house is right here, and the part that was added on, probably 1857 to 1860, is here. Of course, like most houses during that day, the stairs are on the outside of the house.
Okay.
Of course, this is protected by the porch that's here on the south side of the house. Just a really interesting house. Just beautiful interior. There wasn't a whole lot of work that had to be done to help to preserve the house. After he built the house, sometime around 1860, he started building the brewery down the ravine down below the house, which we're fixing to walk down there to here in just a minute.
So this is the cistern, huh?
This is a cistern. It's a bottle-shaped cistern. It's about 19 foot tall, about 9 foot across at the bottom, about 4 foot across at the top. This held a lot of extra water that was used in the brewery for cleaning, for washing utensils, and so forth. It basically had a lot of excess water for them.
There's a bit of an echo.
Quite a bit of an echo. Down here below us is the malting kiln. This is where they would have roasted and dried the germinating barley as part of the brewing process. This metal grate down below us would have had a perforated metal floor on there, and down below it would have been a fire to heat up. Of course, those holes in that floor would allow the heat to come through and to roast that barley. Down here we're looking into the second floor of the brewery, and obviously the whole third floor is completely gone. Where we're standing would have been a large wooden structure, and we're looking down to the second floor. Over here is the cooking area. Down below would have been an area where they would have quickly cooled the beer or the wort at the time. One of the first things Mr. Crysia built here in this brewery was a tunnel. It was built on the base of the ravine where this brewery sits. And it basically starts down here below the first floor, and this room down below us here to our right. And it goes 170 foot out past the brewery and feeds down into the ravine where the ravine continues on. That tunnel was used to flow excess water out of the brewery, and through a chimney effect, as the heat would rise and the different fires that are going on in the brewery, that would pull air over that water. That water would cool that air, and it would help circulate through the brewery and keep the brewery cool.
Pretty amazing how he used natural features, and he used the rocks and like you said earlier, with the chimney effect coming from the tunnel, he used all of that to his advantage. And it seems like some of the processes that he came up with was a little ahead of his time.
It was not necessarily ahead of his time. This technology was used on a lot of breweries, but he definitely used Mother Nature to his advantage. He used gravity, had the water flow from the natural spring. Basically started the process at the top of the brewery and worked his way down, but definitely used Mother Nature to his advantage. This is the old road that came from Grange across the river, the Colorado River. Actually, Mr. Kreis's sons operated a ferry that crossed the river. It came around the hill right here in front of the old brewery. So if you're coming out of town, a great place to stop and get you a barrel of beer and head on up the road, which this road is part of our trail system now. It goes up the hill, and eventually, back in the day when this was used as a road, went down to Hallettsville, which was the nearest town south of here. But just really interesting to be able to walk in those same ruts that those wagons came, in the 1880s. This is the vaulted room.
Oh, wow.
This is a room where Mr. Crysia would have hosed the wort, which is the basis of the beer, been able to put that into the wooden keg barrels and add the yeast. He was able to keep the temperature in this room around 40 degrees for about 9 months out of the year using that tunnel that's down below the room, which is down here to our left.
And what are the little brown things?
The little brown things we have in here are brown bats.
These are bats?
Yeah, those are bats.
Awesome.
During the winter months, we have some bats that live in here.
So you said there's a tunnel under here.
There's a tunnel here. There's a good spot. You can see this back here in the corner.
Wow.
Access down into that tunnel. Obviously, back when the brewery was in operation, there would be water flowing through that tunnel, probably a couple inches deep.
So this is down in the tunnel, and you said this is where it flowed down from the ravine. Now we're looking back up underneath the floor we're standing on now, the camera. come out here and see the brewery. They can get tours. When can they do tours like what we got today?
We have tours on the weekends, mostly on Saturdays. During the fall, winter, and spring, we do tours on Saturday afternoons at 2 and at 3:30, and they're by guided access. Only way to get down into the brewery is through our guided tour.
Thank you so much for showing us around.
It was a pleasure.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
We're in Grange, Texas. We've just toured the old Kreische Brewery at Monument Hill. Now it's time to meet up with our guide, Jamie Blaschke, to learn about the legendary location that some consider a black eye on this community's past, the Chicken Ranch.
There's a place in LaGrange, Texas that is so famous that ZZ Top wrote a song about it and Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds starred in a movie about it. I'm talking about the Chicken Ranch. The Chicken Ranch was a brothel located in Texas, which of course is illegal, but this brothel operated with the full knowledge of law enforcement in that community and was never shut down until Marvin Zindler got a hold of the story. Marvin Zindler was a reporter in Houston, Texas, who liked to do these stories, these expose type pieces, and he got a hold of the story of the Chicken Ranch, which pretty much spelled the end for the brothel. We met up with Jamie Blaschke. Now, Jamie is a writer. He's written a book about the Chicken Ranch, knows all about the history, and knew the owner of the property, therefore was able to get us in to see what's left of the Chicken Ranch.
It was very much a live and let live situation. They had a lot of very strict rules at the Chicken Ranch. All the women were fingerprinted when they came to work there to make sure that none had criminal backgrounds. Drugs were not allowed, any type of illegal narcotics. They did not sell alcohol there during Miss Edna's time, which is from 1962 to 1973, about a little more than a decade. And they really worked hard to keep their nose clean, which is kind of ironic. It was a very conservative brothel, if that makes any kind of sense at all. They really worked to be good neighbors and cooperate within the fabric of Texas society.
The Chicken Ranch location is way off the beaten path outside of LaGrange. They don't like for you to know where it is. The owner of the property doesn't want people knowing where it is, but he was happy to take us out there and let you see. So you're going to get to see something very rare. It's not something everybody gets to see these days.
You're watching Expedition Texas. We're in LaGrange, Texas, at the site of the legendary brothel, the Chicken Ranch. Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds may have made a fun, edgy musical about the place, but the ramifications of a real brothel operating near the town with the full knowledge of law enforcement led to a scandal that eventually closed the place down.
Jamie, how's it going, man?
It's going great.
Good to see you. Bob Malden here, and who do you have with you here?
This is Mike McGee, the owner of the Chicken Ranch.
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you, Mike. So you're the owner of the Chicken Ranch. I take it more recent than when it was active,
yes,
I guess.
I sure did. I acquired it in 2009.
Okay. So tell me, how did you come across owning such a piece of history here in Texas?
It was really just by luck.
Really?
A friend of mine knew the owner and I had an opportunity to acquire it, so I took advantage of it.
Awesome. Well, Jamie, you're somewhat of an expert
Yes,
on this property
a little bit. That's a dubious claim to fame, but yes.
But you've, not firsthand knowledge, but you did do a lot of research on this, even had a chance to interview someone who was directly linked to this, in fact, the owner, right?
Yes, I was fortunate enough to interview. I was able to track down and interview Miss Edna Milton. She was Edna Milton Chadwell. She had remarried prior to her death. I interviewed her in February of 2009.
And behind us right now is what's left of the original Chicken Ranch.
That's all that's left, the splintered husk.
When we pulled up at the property the Chicken Ranch is located on, the surroundings look familiar from the pictures, but there's just not much left of the house. So Jamie, surprisingly, a lot of this remains. The house is still here, some of it is. Doesn't look very stable, but all of this that we're out here, we have barns, we have some concrete structure that's out here, some maybe some foundation. What all happened out in this area?
This was parking area. This would be filled with cars. On busy weekends, they would have off-duty deputies come and direct traffic.
Really?
It was so busy and so popular. This is all that's left of the entrance to the Chicken Ranch, which all of the customers, former clients would have come in and out of. We're talking about tens of thousands of men over the course of a century, give or take, well, 60 years. There's more of the bedrooms that were added on. You can see they did not weather the test of time very well. And interestingly, this wasn't part of the section that was exposed by the removal of the parlor. So this just deteriorated on its own.
So these things are just quickly added on just to make for more space,
Yeah.
but not obviously very stable and very well constructed.
Not built for the long haul.
Right.
You can see that this one section here has a more solid pier, concrete pier built all the way around it.
Yeah.
And it has weathered a lot more time. This is also, not coincidentally, the oldest section of the house.
So this would have been a bedroom, first of all, then later an office.
Yeah, this was initially Miss Jessie's bedroom. This is one of the first this is one of the original rooms of the house. With
Okay.
The kitchen was the other. And you can see it was the bathroom.
Bathroom, yeah.
Because they had the bathroom here, a shower,
Yeah.
toilet.
And a toilet.
You know, so it was set up. Not sure exactly how it was set up. I have not been able to locate any pictures of Miss Jessie's bedroom. But you can see above on the roof where it would have been walled off, so she could come in to, you know, have her private bath.
Yeah.
And everything. And so this was her bedroom. When Miss Edna bought the property from Miss Jessie in 1963 or 62, I believe. I get my dates confused. She said she didn't want to live here. Miss Edna did not want to live on the property.
Okay.
Because she had worked here for a decade and had no interest in doing that anymore.
Okay.
So she converted this to an office.
Okay.
And this is where she conducted her business. She added the metal gratings to the windows for protection, for security reasons.
So is this the kitchen?
This is the kitchen. It's one of the other second original building, room in the building. This is where lots and lots of meals were cooked. One of the things that Miss Edna was very, very strongly in favor of was providing her women plenty to eat. She had been on her own, young and on the verge of starving, and a lot of the girls who came here to work for her were undernourished, and she would, have them steak, vegetables. She always had fresh fruit out constantly.
Was this original to
This is the original stove. It's since been stripped of all copper and pretty much anything of value.
Wow.
But that is the original stove. It was over here. This is where the vents were.
Right. And I want to go out here and look. This is what you said were the quickly added on rooms.
Yes.
Nothing more really than a floor and the
Ductwork. That's
ceiling
about it.
is kind of still falling in on us.
It was the kitchen, the parlor, the office, and everything else was bedrooms. That's where they made their business from. That's where their income came from.
Well, we're out here in one of the bedrooms now, what's left of it. Lots of ductwork, wiring. This is the ceiling that's come down. But you can still see traces of the bathroom over here. I just love looking at all this and knowing that these were once rooms with lots of activity, if you will, taking place in them. Jamie, is this what's left of the carpet?
Could be.
Here? It's quite possible. I don't know if that's carpet or if that's mold. Looks like it might have been green shag at one point or another.
Green shag would be a likely.
Yeah. I believe it. Some of it is still standing. The office is still standing. Some of the rooms are still standing. Some bathrooms. You can see a little bit of what the place was, but time has not been good to this structure. But one thing I found really fascinating was off on the back of the property was a trash pile. We found beer bottles from Falstaff, Lone Star, Pearl. They don't even make Pearl anymore, but Falstaff was there. They don't make that anymore. But you found all these old beer bottles in there, the short, old brown beer bottles that were in there, and I actually ended up keeping a few for a collection. You can't tell much about it, but I did find an old Coke can, full tab Coke can here. I can get back to you without breaking any glass. There is actual tin Coke can there. And pull tab on it. There are hopes someday of recognizing the imprint on the history there that the chicken ranch has had. The owner would like to someday turn it into a place that tourists can visit, but right now it's still considered pretty much a black eye on the community there. So until that happens, it's just going to sit there rotting away among the trees near Grange, Texas. So we're going to get a chance to go take a closer look at that, and you'll show us around and show us what some of the things were that were there and what took place.
Well, I won't show you exactly what took place. I'm not into reenactments here, but...
no reenactments. We'll leave that out.
We'll give you the nickel tour.
Yeah, okay. Let's the nickel tour, right? Okay, good. Let's go check it out.